This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast, with original independent science fiction, written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the Science Fiction Podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I've got Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest coming up on this episode. Just about 18 minutes long. What haunts you? Things you've done in the past? A less than desirable reputation? How about ghosts? They may be seeing actual ghosts on board Hector Ruiz's ship, the Libracampista, and Nico Constantine's poor reputation isn't really going to help him as the new prime representative of the Solar Alliance. And Alibi Jones's past may just be catching up with him. Speaking of being haunted by things. As we get into Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on Glow in the Dark Radio. Yes, this kind of sort of is a science fiction ghost story, in a sense. A little bit of book news before we get into the chapter. A reminder to get your hands on the Exploring New England 2026 calendar. You got a little bit longer to get your order in before the holiday slowdown of, postage and things approaches. And it is print on demand, so I just want to encourage you to get on that if you've been thinking about it. And the link is in the show notes. And if you're, looking for holiday gifts, the calendar is a nice one. And so are my paperbacks and graphic novels, for that matter. The Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus is pretty sweet. That's available this year. The collected thick paperback is pretty cool as a gift, too. The Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus. Although if they don't like it, they could throw it at you and you could get injured. So, be careful. The Chronological Omnibus. The Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus. Nice gift. So is the Vatican Assassin Trilogy. Also on the heavy side, again, careful. The Vatican Assassin 15th Anniversary Edition, the original novels, 15th Anniversary Edition, is also a pretty cool looking book with that Federico Guillen cover, special anniversary cover. There's the Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy, the comic book years, the unofficial comic book history. Might be something for the Marvel fan, although this is text. It's not a comic book. Just want to be sure that's clear, but it is a beautiful looking paperback. I used a NASA photo for the layout. It just came out pretty sweet. A good-looking paperback. Books make good gifts. They're cool gifts. And books from indie authors are even cooler. More unique. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to qualify unique. I know that's wrong. But it is kind of more unique, People aren't likely to already have them on hand. And you can even explain why you thought that person, your recipient, would like the book. It makes you sound even more thoughtful. Don't you think? Extra thoughtful? See, I'm just looking out for you. I'm just trying to make you look good here. And maybe sell some books. So I put a link to lulu.com, which is like a search link, but it's a link to Lulu in the show notes. That's my print-on-demand distributor. So when people ask me, Mike, where can I buy your books where you get most of the proceeds? This would be the place. So again, the link to my lulu.com books is in the show notes. And they make lovely holiday gifts. Sorry. It doesn't come naturally to me to hawk my books, but then I get going and it's like, yeah, I want you to buy them. So, okay. And we're, of course, listening to one of those. Trying to bring it back around here. We've got Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, which is part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus, which we are listening to in its entirety, the audiobook version, on this podcast. Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, coming up next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Under 30,000 feet of water, the exploration rig Leaguer has discovered an oil field larger than Saudi Arabia. With oil so sweet and pure, nations would go to war for the rights to it. But as the team starts drilling exploration wells in their race to claim the sweet crude, a deep rumbling beneath the ocean floor shakes them to their core. Something has been living in the oil. Paul E. Cooley's The Black is a techno-horror thriller reminiscent of movies such as Leviathan and The Thing, and puts terror right into readers' ears. The Black, a free podcast novel available from shadowpublications.com and iTunes. Ocean exploration will never be the same.
Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest on Glow in the Dark Radio.
The Libra-Campista turned around and began to pull away from the old hulk. "Tell me when the power drain stops," Hector said to Janice. The engine's subtle thrum throbbed throughout the ship, thrusters pushed to their limits as the trader raced away from the ancient vessel. "Is the power drain slowing down as we go?" Hector asked, his attention taken up in teasing more acceleration out of the rear drives. "Yeah, looks like," Janice said. "Hard to be sure." Hector swore under his breath as he tried to put more distance between his ship and the vampiric old hulk behind them. The engines strained, vibrating the entire vessel. He could feel it in his teeth. Hector hoped the old Libra-Campista didn't shake apart. The thought made him swear again. After a long, juddering minute, Janice spoke up. "Okay, it's stopped," Janice said. "The draining effect has ceased. We're at 68% power, but we're not losing anymore." Hector eased back on the engines. Their thrumming dulled down to its more usual low-pitched hum. "Nor are we gaining power back," Ryoshi said, nodding at the controls in front of her. "We should keep going, so the power reserves can build back up." Hector nudged the controls to keep the ship moving away. One of the hired muscles spoke up. "Not getting any brighter," Mercer said, as he looked around the dim bridge. "Neither are you." The other grunt, Pearson, snarked at his fellow security and handling officer. "Shut it, you two," Hector said. "I need to think." He was beginning to feel the same sense of wrong Bob Bond had described, an uneasy feeling something wasn't right. He felt cold. A pillar of sickly greenish-yellow light blinded them as it appeared in the center of the bridge. As their eyes adjusted, they watched the light blur and become a strangely shaped man. It then seemed to focus, and in the middle of the room stood a translucent green astronaut in a helmeted, safe EVA suit. Hector couldn't make out any details of the phantom astronaut's face inside of the helmet. if the ghostly astronaut even had a face. The figure raised its right arm, as if grabbing for the crew of the Libra Campista. "No!" the figure rasped in a rough, mechanical voice. "Don't let me die! Don't let me die again!" "Dios mío!" Hector gasped. He turned back to the ship controls. Hector punched in a trans-space jump and prayed they were far enough away from the gravity footprint of the old ship to make it clean. As the engines complained at the sudden demand for trans-space, Hector also prayed the ghostly green astronaut would go away when they jumped. "No!" the glowing green apparition cried. "Don't let me die again!" "Is it a matter of life or death?" Dr. Krishnamurti, Krish, asked as he drew his presentation on time travel to the project's executive board towards its close. "I would say it most definitely is." The elderly scientist and his assistant, Dr. Alexandra Shinose, were fighting with the board to continue funding for their projects and their time lab on Rigel 4. This presentation was one of their final chances to make their case. With the end of the Time War and the disappearance of the Devrisium, Krish had to remind the board that it had been time traveling by the ancient enemy, not the Devrisium, which first created the need for temporal research. He also wanted to remind the younger scientists and executives on the board that what goes away doesn't necessarily stay away. He brought it back around for them. "As they have disappeared, the Devrisium are also fading from our memories," Krish said. "But there is no guarantee they will not come back again. And they do not think well of us." At this, Krish pressed a playback button on the table. A giant, glowing, armored bust appeared floating in their midst, an alien torso clad in crimson plate sealed together with pitch-black seams that seemed to glow with an almost negative light. It began to speak in a strange metallic voice. "Consider the humans of the so-called Solar Alliance," Madone of the Devrisium said in the projection. Krish looked around at the confused reactions of the board as they remembered the Devrisium. "This offshoot of our ancient enemy developed in ignorance of their true heritage. Tamer, more empathic than their progenitors, these humans do not possess the same mental or physical powers. They do possess a drive to dominate, procreate, and spread, unlike any we've seen in any other race. Perhaps the ancient enemy bred a biological imperative to conquer into the starseeds that birthed this pale offspring." The alien disappeared. Krish let its words sink in for a moment, the board's memory of the Devrisium hopefully rekindled. Krish then went for his strong finish. "That was a communication we intercepted between the Devrisium and another race, as yet undetermined. There are races that still consider us little better than a virus," Krish told the board. "We would do well to remember that. And, as I said, regarding the ancient enemy, we still do not know where Azimet is, or if any other additional members of his race will, or have already, come forward ahead into our time, as he did, possessing new bodies. With all this in mind, Dr. Shinose and I hope very much that you'll continue, at the very least, to fund our temporal research efforts at present budget levels, as we are currently the only branch of the project addressing these important concerns. Thank you." Krish smiled at the board as he finished. Alibi woke up. He'd nodded off watching the news, and then dreamed about Krish making some presentation or something. Seemed real. Wonder what Krish would say about that. Have to ask him next time I see him. No telling when that'll be, though, with me not going anywhere. Wonder how he's doing. Old friend of the family, Krish had been a true friend to Alibi, there when he needed him. Always tried to help Alibi when he could. Early on, the old scientist told Alibi he had a gift, telepathic potential passed down to him from his father, Bernard Campion. Krish gave him a piece of an alien shipwreck, a small chunk of the hull of an Eldred ship, and Alibi had a vision as he held it. A remote sighting, Krish labeled it. The scientist had Alibi describe the surrounding stars in the sky in his vision, and with that, they were able to find an old Eldred outpost Alibi sought. Krish had helped Alibi in the Time War against the Devrisium, too. The Time War. Strange how people are forgetting the Devrisium ever existed. Time Wars. Funny things. The news feed grabbed his attention back. The grinning man's face that now filled the screen made Alibi grimace. Wish he never existed, Alibi muttered. The young politician on the feed had been making life hell for his Aunt Anita of late. He'd gone after and gotten her old job. He looked nice enough in a well-tailored, old-fashioned business suit. His bright white smile, brown eyes, and dark hair made many describe him as traditionally handsome. He looks like a weasel. Don't care what they say. The weasel was talking to an older, respected newsman Alibi recognized. Les something, I think. He turned up the volume. Hello, this is Wes Tinslow, and with me today on Newsmakers is the new Prime Representative for the Solar Alliance, young Nico Constantine. That's a pretty famous name you've got there, Nico. Tell me, what exactly is the family connection? The original Nico Constantine was my uncle, my great-uncle. Grew up hearing many a story about old Uncle Nick. I see. But aren't you from a so-called bastard branch of the family? I mean, according to your cousin, Electra Constantine, the original Nico Constantine's daughter. The politician laughed off the slight. Electra has a colorful way of speaking, doesn't she? As our politics do not match, I am not surprised she constantly tries to undermine my political credibility and sabotage my goals. So that's just politics. Certainly, I am a Constantine, born to rule, no doubt, or I wouldn't be our new prime rep now, would I? Tinslow frowned. He looked like he'd eaten something that disagreed with him. I see, Tinslow said. Now, you call your coalition the Human Destiny Party, which begs the question, what do you consider humankind's destiny? Well, we don't presume to know that now, do we? That would be presumptuous of us, wouldn't it? No, we do not presume a destiny for any human being. We merely believe the Solar Alliance government should strive to create conditions where human beings can live out their destinies to their fullest potential. So, you don't have some sort of grand vision of humanity's destiny, then? Well, Wes, as I think many of us do, I believe humanity's destiny lies out among the stars. But beyond that, we in the Human Destiny Party believe that each man and woman has a right to explore that destiny on their own terms. Now that you're in office, tell me, is it true you plan on reaching out to some of the criminals and outlaws, crime lords and independents, beyond human borders? Now, Wes, they're not beyond human borders, just beyond the current political boundaries of the Solar Alliance. That's not the same thing, more's the pity. Excuse me. Well, it is a shame we exclude them, the human ones, I mean. You want them in the SA? Why not? Well, they're criminals, for one. Most of them are engaged in some kind of illegal activity, or they'd be working within the borders of the SA. Some of them even modify people. And tell me, Wes, why is that illegal? Some arbitrary rules some ancestors of ours put in place? Isn't it time that we looked at those laws anew? Why limit human potential? Why not allow people to modify, to improve themselves? I'm not sure most people will agree with your definition of improve, Mr. Constantine. That's Prime Representative Constantine now, please. Indeed. Yes, it is, isn't it? Well then, thank you for your time. I thought we were scheduled for the full half hour. We were, but we're done now. Thank you. Hey, this is my time. Not anymore. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. The picture shifted back to the presenting announcer. Right, a rather abrupt end there. Well, thank you, Wes Tinslow and Prime Representative Constantine. Up next, our profile of the colony that's trying to live up to its name, Paradise. No, excuse me, wait. We interrupt our usual programming. Click. Alibi turned off the media feed. Nico fucking Constantine, Alibi said, still angry at the radical politician who'd managed to rise to the top. He didn't want to hear about Paradise either. Alibi had been there. The name reminded him of folks he cared for who didn't want to be around him. You should forgive him, Katie said to Kit. You've forgiven me? She looked over at the Catman to make sure she had his eye. I mean, you have forgiven me, haven't you? It was a topic she raised every few days, whenever she bumped into Kitrafundler Grundler, Kit. Katie Ramsey was staying on her, under the protection of the diplomatic family of Kit's father, Rakar. She'd been volunteering at the family headquarters, and her chores sometimes led her downstairs to the basement archives where Kit toiled. Kit's unpaid work there was inspired by a different motivation. Rakar had assigned him community service for his part in what Rakar called the Kismet affair.
That is different, Kit said. Do not ask me to explain.
Why not? She prodded. Because you can't? He didn't bring me to your joining. We weren't together anymore. We'd already broken up. Trish invited me. For you to blame Alibi is stupid.
I find it odd that you are championing his cause, Kit said. After all, you stayed on her to get away from him yourself.
Well, sure, she admitted. But that doesn't mean I don't care about him still. A little. I care about both of you. It isn't doing you any good to hate him either. That emotion hurts you more than him. You should forgive him.
Here is the archival crystal,
Kit said, as he handed her the old Dakur record-keeping device.
You may now cease lecturing me and return to Rakar.
Oh, may I now? She said. Thank you for your permission, Your Majesty. Kit growled a low, annoyed grumble. Thank you, King of the Crystals, she joked.
I find it odd that even when he is not here, we find ourselves talking about Alibi Jones, Kit said. It is quite annoying.
He's just one of those people you talk about. Big things, seem to happen around him. It is kind of strange, she admitted. You know, Kat and Rakar seem to like him well enough.
I am through talking about him, Kit said. You should go.
Spoil sport, Katie said. Killjoy.
Your translator is saying funny things, Kit said. I do not think it is conveying your meaning properly.
Never mind, Katie said. Bye, Kit.
Katie?
She turned and walked up the stairs, leaving Kit alone in the archives. As he thought about Katie and Kit, Alibi missed them, but also couldn't help but feel some relief at their absence, which then made him feel a little guilty. They complicated things more than they needed to be. He'd done as they wished and broken off all contact. He'd erased Katie's old messages from his wand. Still had some of Kit's, though there weren't many. Thinking of it, Alibi picked up his wand. There were a couple of messages waiting. He didn't recognize the sources. Nothing important then, I'm sure. He turned off the wand. Didn't feel like being found at the moment. Restless, he left his aunt's apartment, going for a walk around some of the less populated parts of Ceres Central. After wandering for a bit, Alibi decided to drown his knot of emotions in a beer. He headed for a nearby pub. Alibi Jones! It's him, everybody! Told you he comes in here! Hey, Alibi! Hey, media star! The bartender called over as he walked in. Alibi looked around the bar as the murmur of conversation died. The small room was popular with a regular crowd, big with the locals, residents of Ceres Central. About 20 people filled the dimly lit place. Alibi felt like every eye in the bar was on him. Some stared directly. After a moment, most went back to their drinks. The murmur returned. Alibi looked back to the bartender as he approached the bar. What? He asked, grimacing. You're famous now, kid. Or infamous, the man said to him in a lower voice. What did I do? Alibi asked. Ah, they said you were playing innocent. The bartender looked smug, pleased with his knowledge. Ha! What did I do? He says, the bartender said, mimicking Alibi. He chuckled. You're modest. They might not like you back on Earth, but out here on Ceres Central, anyone who takes out a crime lord like Lava Lure is respected, not persecuted. Thanks, I think, Alibi said. The man's words sank in a bit. Hey, wait, they don't like me on Earth? Take out Lava Lure? What have you heard? Only what's been all over the news feeds this afternoon, the bartender said. Think it was Newsnight started it about an hour ago. Ran a segment all about your trip to Kismet. Said it was actually you who blew the place up. Oh no.
That was Chapter 2 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. So Hector and his crew really are seeing ghosts? And Nico Constantine deserves his reputation. And the world just found out that Alibi Jones blew up Kismet? That can't be good. Well, things should get interesting as we get into Chapter 3 of Alibi Jones and the Hornet's Nest, coming up on our next episode of Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. And a quick reminder on book news, which was really promotion. You can get the calendar, which is available, the Exploring New England calendar 2026. That is out there, and if you're looking for holiday gifts, consider picking up one of my books. And if you want to do that, the link to my books at lulu.com, which is my print-on-demand provider, that link is in the show notes. But because it's print-on-demand, you want to give it a little bit of extra time, which is why I'm letting you know about it now. And that is all for this week. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. Glow-in-the-Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2025 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NCND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at Incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.